Can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did she have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
Hey friends, welcome to a very special episode. I just got back from GCX 2025 in Orlando, Florida, and I got a wonderful opportunity to meet so many cool people and to get to chat with a variety of different people who have actually worked in video games, and not just video games, but the Fallout TV show. So get ready for a really cool episode. I have 5 different interviews for you. People who have worked in Fallout and Elder Scrolls, but also other games, plus a content creator who's making a big difference in the community. So this is going to be wonderful. One of these voice actors worked both in Fallout and Elder Scrolls as Paladin Danse and Miraak. Another has done voices from the 1980s onward and has voiced characters in things like Transformers and Ben 10 and all of these popular cartoon type shows, and then has also done characters across so many different video games. I can't even list them all. Another voice actor who is very well known from the Mass Effect series, but has also done a lot of other cool stuff, including runs a Dungeons and Dragons campaign for people in a castle, and does this every year, actually multiple times a year. But to get started, we're going to go talk to the guy who runs the teams of people who handle all of the makeup in the Fallout TV show. I'm so excited for you to hear all of this, but also please keep in mind I had to do these recordings with a handheld mic, just a little lapel mic that I could record to in the midst of this big convention. So some of these, there's a little bit more background noise and sound like that. Some of them are a little bit better off isolated in a room because we got a conference room. So please be patient with the audio. I've cleaned it up as best I can, and I hope you enjoy this as much as I did, getting to chat with all of these awesome people. Also, this episode is long enough as it is, so I'm not going to take a break in order to do the whole patron thing, but if you'd like to support the show, then go to Patreon. You know how all that stuff works, and I will read out our new patron guests and all of that stuff on next week's show. But if you do have some money burning a hole in your pocket, don't donate to us right now. Take it, donate it to St. Jude Children's Hospital. That's what this event is all about. There is a link in the description of this episode, and there are a lot of people that could use your help. So this event has been awesome. They've raised a ton of money so far, over almost $500,000 raised, $439,000 as I'm looking at it right now. So consider doing that instead if you'd like to help out, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Put your feet up, grab a cup of coffee, or I don't know, go on an extended run because this is going to be a long episode, and I hope you enjoy. Now I'm sitting here with Michael Harvey, a man who is probably a lot more deeply involved with the Fallout universe than any of us, because he is the guy who has done, well, you probably run a team, correct? There's a team of
several teams
of makeup artists who work on the Fallout TV series. And as we were sitting here talking before we actually started recording, he said, I can't ask, there's really not much you can tell me about season 2, so don't be upset if I'm not revealing any hot secrets. But I have a feeling you'll be able to tell some really cool details about the world of Fallout from behind the scenes of making a TV show and all of that. So welcome to the show. This is very exciting to get to talk to you. I'm so glad to meet you.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
So let's get back to some of your experience. Let's start with your background, both in makeup and also in Fallout, because you're a Fallout fan. When did you get into each of these things? And it's kind of so fun that two interests like that can coincide.
It was a perfect storm of a situation between gameplay and my work. My background was all special effects makeup, which started here in Orlando. Worked behind the scenes at Universal Studios, worked on TV shows behind the scenes here at Universal Studios. And then that career moved me up north to Philadelphia and New York. And I got my feet wet with doing just regular beauty makeup. And so now I have enough special effects knowledge and enough beauty makeup knowledge that it made me more desirable to productions. One guy that does both things.
Yeah.
So many doors open for many different reasons because now I have a bigger toolbox, if you want to call it that. So my career went from Orlando to Philadelphia to New York. And once I was in New York, that was maybe 2008. I've never stopped working since. And there was always something, always fun little projects coming to town. So you always sit there and go, oh man, I would love to have been on that, or I'd love to have been on that. And then a friend of mine said, hey, I got this job. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'm not too sure what it is. It's about a video game. It's something about people living underground and post-apocalyptic. I don't know. Have you heard of this? It's called Fallout. And I had to take a minute and go, wait, it's coming to New York? Like, yeah, they're going to be filming it here in New York. I'm like, I got to get on this. How do I get on this? He goes, they've already staffed up the makeup department. I could put a word in for you, see what happens. I said, you know what? We'll see where fate takes us, see what happens. Come to find out, the guy who had the job backed out.
Oh, wow.
He backed out. There's rumors why. Don't know why. No, it's not that it matters. It was a monumental project. And I know the makeup artist who had the job just came off of another monumental project. And I probably felt, you know what? I don't want to do this again. I'm going to go. So my friend, who was the hair department head for the show, the production came to him and they're like, we're going to scramble to find somebody. Well, you got any names? You got anybody that might be able to do this? And he says, hey, I got this guy. Call him. And that's how it started. It's like I got in the game a little too short as far as the production. Because when a show starts, there's like 6 weeks of pre-production. Doing makeup tests, doing hair tests, building the sets, doing the costumes, doing everything. I fell a little short because this guy that was there before me was there for like 3 weeks. So I came late. So I had to catch up real fast. The one thing about catching up, I didn't have to catch up. I knew the game because I've been playing the game since Fallout 3, whenever that came out. Can't remember.
Yeah, that was like 2008, 9, something like that. Yeah.
So as soon as they said, oh, we got to do Raiders, we got to do Wastelanders, we got to do these different factions, we got to do Vault Dwellers, we got to do Ghouls, I'm like, oh, check, and check.
I'm familiar with those.
This. So we had to put together, they gave us all the books of all the reference. I said, I already got them. You know, I'm flipping through them. They're like, we want this, but we don't want that. We want likenesses. We don't want to pull anybody right out of the game, put them right on the screen. So they gave us a lot of, to say, room to play with the likenesses and the looks, but everything was scrutinized down to the right blue of the vault suits, the right color of blood that they wanted, the right color of blood for the ghouls. Everything was they were very hands-on on making sure it's accurate. And what a lot of people don't know is that every day of filming for Fallout, we had a representative from Bethesda there to make sure we were staying true to the story, which was fun.
One of the things that the show was lauded for, among many things, but one of the things they were lauded for the most by fans was the accuracy of the visuals matching their expectations from the games, whether that came from the power armor or the guns or the Nuka-Cola bottle. But especially, I would imagine, the characters, the faces of individuals, the way, like you said, Raiders look, the way the ghouls look, the way and all of that has something to do with, something that you touched. That's everything. That was, you were a part of all of that.
The hardest part that they wanted to have the likeness of the game. They wanted it to be locked into the reality of what it really meant to be irradiated, hungry, dehydrated, tired, all these things. But they said, make it feel like the game, but make it real. Don't make it cartoony and make it look fake. Make it look real. So it was like, ooh, it's a tall order. Because you can make it look too real, but then it falls short with the Fallout fans.
Right.
So you had to kind of stick with that. Some of it was campy and a little bit funny, cartoony, but it also had to look real.
Right.
So,
and I think you guys, that is a fine line to tread. And I think you really nailed it. I mean, I'm sure all of the people who are Fallout fans who are listening to this had a very similar experience that I did watching the show for the first time. You see the trailer come out and you go, wait a minute. I think that this might actually be good. And then you watch the show and you've got chills and you've got like that experience of like, no way. This is a vault. This actually looks like a vault. These vault dwellers, these vault suits, the way the ghouls' faces look, it's different, but yet it's still accurate. It still fits what we would expect.
It's what you would like to think if you could literally transport yourself into the game and then the game became reality. That's the show.
Right.
And what we did, what the Jonah Nolan did, is that he likes everything practical. Vault doors moving, real. Vertibird, real. The Philly set, all of it was real. Everything was not digital. I would say 70% was practical. 30% was obviously enhanced digitally. And so now we're working and we're almost done. Everybody's tired. Everybody's beaten down. Everybody's like, what are we doing? We have no idea. This looks great. We're shooting it. It's all shot on film too, all 35 millimeter. And we're like, they're spending a ton of money. What does this look like? So we're almost at the end. And where it was filmed in New York, Steiner Studios in Brooklyn, there was this venue, big bar. It was meant for like viewings and things. And he brought the entire crew, bought out the place. And he says, look, I've got a 90-second teaser. I want to show everybody. This is what's going to be released to the public in about 2 months. Just want to let you to see. I want everybody to see what you guys have been working for. Okay, great. We're all like, all right, what's this going to be? Watched it. And you thought you were watching a movie. And
The production quality it does not look like a TV show. No. It looks like a movie.
Every episode was a movie. And after that trailer ended, I'd say there was probably a good 5 seconds of silence. Everybody was just jaw dropped on how amazing it looked, how well it was put together, the effects, everything, the music, everything was just perfect. We still had like another month to go, but it completely rejuvenated everybody going, wow, that's what this is. Let's go.
That's amazing. So it sounds like if I were to ask you the hardest thing, the treading, that line would be the hardest thing. Is there something that you worked on that you felt was probably your greatest accomplishment when it comes to representing that world or a specific character? Or, I mean, I'm sure the ghouls were very difficult because you have to take human beings who are not ghoulified, and it's, just like movie monster makeup, you have to do it in a way where you could still say, okay, yeah, that's a person's face. And yes, they're ghoulified, and yes, they are disgusting and creepy looking like they show up in the games, but yet it still works for the lighting in the scene and being around other human beings and all of that. Would that be one of them, or do you have other ideas?
I can't take credit for the ghoul work. Like I said, there was many teams that we were all under the same umbrella. There was a dedicated, I ran the makeup department, but there was a special makeup effects group under that umbrella. There was a group just for Walton under that umbrella. We worked all together. We all had to help each other out. There's an amazing makeup designer and makeup artist called Vincent Van Dyke out in LA. He handled all of Walton's prosthetic pieces. And they did many tests to get it to where what you saw on screen. The biggest thing that they didn't want to do, that Jonah didn't want to do, is lose Walton behind the makeup.
Right. There's a balance there.
Yeah, and it was purposeful because nobody knew it at the time. We didn't know where his head, meaning Jonah, where he was going. There's a lot of flashbacks now that we see. And now the audience is going, oh, I'm connecting these pieces.
Yeah, you still have to recognize the actor underneath the makeup.
And they wanted to make sure Walton didn't get lost in there. And one of Walton's iconic personal, let's say, representations or personal looks is he's got very large white teeth. So they had to give him specific dentures to kind of tone it down a little bit, but you still want to know that, no, that's Walton and that's his teeth and that's the actor and that's who he is and he's playing Cooper Howard. We're putting that connection together. The other team, the FX team under that same umbrella, they did the heavy lifting for Lucy's husband in the very beginning, the big blender to the face.
Yeah. Oh, he gets a chunk taken out. Yeah, for sure.
Wonderful artist, great piece. Nice, bloody, and gory, and just they really did a great job. They handled the Michael Emerson head, Dr. Wilzig, They did his head, they did his foot. So we all worked together on a lot of stuff. Going back to the beginning, I have a special effects background. Anything with the main actors was me. I did all of the scars on Aaron Moten, Maximus' character, Thaddeus, Johnny Pepperton. Anything on Lucy was me.
Yeah, and they get beat up a lot.
And the one thing that a lot of people don't understand how these shows are shot. If we're in a location, and like, Amazon's famous for it, Apple's famous for it, they'll release an entire season right away. Boom, done. All 8 episodes. And Amazon did 3 at a time, and then they trickled them out. But if we had one location, we had to shoot all the scenes for the entire season in one location. So you had to have like a Bible of the timeline, the story, what the wounds were, where they got the wounds, how they got the wounds, what's the timeline of the wounds, because now you're filming something here that was 3 days earlier, but now we're filming in the exact same location with the exact same person that happened a week later. So you kind of have to do that.
All the consistency, yeah.
The consistency. And then you got to wrap your brain around doing that for everybody. And then for me, running a team of 30 plus makeup artists. And there's some days we started at 2 a.m. to be ready by 6.
Yeah.
So by 6 a.m., we've already about, 5 hours worth of work in, 4 hours worth of work in to get 300 people ready. And the production company, the producers and everything is like, well, this isn't a period piece. You don't have to touch everybody. I'm like, no, we do. Everybody needs dirt, grime, slime, wounds, tattoos, all of this stuff. It's like, you can't go on camera unless you're dirty.
Yeah, I can imagine a scene in like the town, and like in the background, you're like, that guy's on his lunch break. Yeah. What is he doing?
And he's perfectly clean.
Right. He works in IT, clearly. Yeah.
And that was the thing. My team and I fought. I don't want to use the word fought, but we had to really go, let's say, tell him, it's like, look, we need our time, because Jonan has a vision. He's trusting us to bring that vision to life. This is what it takes. Give us our time. And obviously it paid off.
Oh, yeah.
The show got nominated 17 Emmys. One of them was mine.
That's amazing.
So come on. This is what hard work translates into. Obviously the fans love it. Obviously it's taken off. Season 2's done. Season 3's already been renewed. And for what Bethesda, Todd Howard, he said he was approached many times by many other production companies to do a Fallout series. And he was like, I don't know. And someone said the story goes that he made us like a tweet or a comment to somebody or something online, said, well, I'll do it if the Nolan brothers get involved. I don't know how true that is, but that's the story. And then obviously Jonah Nolan got wind of that. He said, I'm a fan of the game. Let's talk. And so they did. And here we are. I mean, they did a phenomenal job of putting this thing together in such a short amount of time, too. So I can't complain one bit.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, the work is evident on the screen. And one of my interests outside of just podcasting and Fallout and Elder Scrolls and things like that is movie production and VFX. I watch a lot of shows on YouTube that take you behind the scenes and like, how did you do this? Or Adam Savage will be like, oh, check out these props or whatever, right? And I love that's one of my go-to. Like, I'm in the evening and I'm just chilling out. Teach me something cool about making cool movies, right? The flip side of that is so many shows and movies also show back up on YouTube as like hey, let's look at this sci-fi masterpiece from 1983, and everyone laughs at the special effects and all of that. I feel like we're at a place now when it comes to makeup and physical effects and computer generated things that when you combine all of that together in the right way, you end up with something that is timeless. I would be very surprised if 20 to 30 years from now, we look back at the Fallout TV show from today and it doesn't hold up.
I don't see that happening. I mean, I think technology at today, meaning 2025, is at a pinnacle point of, you can marry all these different crafts together. And it's hard to go, I can see where the transition was. Oh, I can see where that's fake. That wasn't real. And for Fallout, and this is what I tell anybody who walks over to that table of mine, I go, what you saw on screen mostly was real.
Yeah. There's a little bit of CG and like a monster or moving in the background in certain scenes, but then when it's up close, it's real.
It's practical. And that's what the Nolan brothers, including Jonah, they love building real things. And it really lends to not only the dedication of the craft, but honoring the world as it is, instead of just being all green screen and video playback screens and things like that. Walking through that vault, I felt I was walking through the vault. The pipes, leaky water, rusts.
Yeah.
The doors would move.
The doors, yeah.
Everything. I mean, it was just being a fan of the game. I'm sitting there and I got just like, this is not real. It was so well done. Howard, the set designer, same thing, got nominated. Phenomenal job. And it's just taking all these amazing individuals, artists, craftsmen, and bringing them together. You can see what happens when you give them time, you give them a budget, you kind of let them off the leash a little bit, and you say, go make something great. And for this world, it's never been done. Never been done to do something post-apocalyptic like this with such a funny, campy feel all out the way. It's got that little dark bits of comedy. And then for Nolan and Bethesda to kind of agree on, doing the flashbacks and understanding some of the history and where these characters come from and the world and how it became what it was, and really paying attention to the canon and making it part of the story. And that's what Bethesda said. Here's your world. Here's the left wall. Here's the right wall. You can play in this. You do whatever you want. And that's what they gave Jonah and the writers and everything, and said, go play. And that's when I said that there was somebody from Bethesda there every day, just making sure that they stayed true. And what an amazing thing. It's just, to me, it's so surreal that they even tried to do this and they did it so well.
Yeah. It was a very pleasant surprise, especially in a time where we get other video game shows and people are like, did they even play the game? But nobody can level that complaints on the Fallout TV show, because so much of it is so accurate. And some people try to complain about, well, now they're going to change the timeline or whatever. But I do a lore show. Yeah. Like, those complaints are ridiculous.
And that's the funny thing, is that when this all started, the little leaks on Reddit started coming out. The little comments on Reddit started coming out. We did the Super Duper Mart was shot on Staten Island at an old defunct grocery store.
Yeah, I remember the pictures getting leaked. Yeah.
So at first, they just put up a fence. Okay, no big deal. They did their thing. People were breaking in, taking pictures, and stealing props and stealing posters and stealing things. Fence got taller. It got corned off. Security was there. And then everybody's like, oh, this is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
But then, Reddit was this, oh, that looks great, but how good is this going to be? Oh, Red Rocket. We filmed the Red Rocket gas station, upstate New York, at this one gas station that almost looks like a real Red Rocket to begin with. Howard again went through and put all his magic on it. It looks so great. Photos of that leaked online. And then it's just one of those things. The show comes out, Reddit goes quiet. Nobody had anything to complain about it.
Right.
They couldn't find anything wrong with it. And for the people that, my family included, friends included, hey, this Fallout thing, what is this about? I go, it's about a video game. Oh, I guess I'm not going to understand what it's about. I go, no. You're going to understand. Watch it.
Yeah.
You don't need to be... It's great if you are a fan of the video game. You don't need to be.
Right. Well, I have a story. My father, who doesn't play role-playing games and things like that, he's retired, he's older now. The show came out, and he noticed it on Amazon before I told him about it.
Okay, yeah.
And then he knows I do the podcast, and he was like, hey, what's this about this Fallout show? And I was like, hey, you should go watch it and let me know what you think. He is the one, every time we get together and hang out, he'll bring it up and go, so when does season 2 come out again? He is the biggest fan, and he's never played any of the games.
But it's good writing. It's good storytelling. It's good sets, props. It's you can get immersed in the world regardless of what your fan base is about the show or about the video game. It's fun. It's great watch. It's a great watch. Everybody who comes over and talks to me like, oh, I'm going to go home and rewatch it. I'm like, yeah. Go, because you're going to see something you didn't see before. And I think that's a tip to Amazon and tip to Bethesda and Kiltro, who is Jonah Nolan's production company. But they did a great job. They did a great job. Season 2, December late December it comes out. They said like December 25th, 26th, 27th. But yeah, I mean, they had to rush it because the fan base was hot to trot. We want more. We want more.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, everyone's waiting, and I can't wait to see it either. Now, while we're sitting here in our interview, we're sitting inside the Elder Scrolls Online Tavern. I'm sure maybe if the background, I'm sure there's a lot of background noise bleeding in, but there's some music playing. You might have noticed the Elder Scrolls music. Are you an Elder Scrolls fan also?
I was, and you know what? Life happens. You know, for me, I was in a cast. I broke my arm, and I was in a cast for 22 months. I had nothing to do. I just played Fallout, and that was where I dove into Fallout. And then life happened, and my career took off. So video games kind of took a backseat a little bit.
Sure, yeah.
So I don't have much time to do much of it.
Right.
And then a friend of mine bought me a PlayStation, and it's a good way to stay connected. He's in Philly, I'm in New York. We got a friend in Vegas and another guy in South Carolina. So whenever we can, we get together, we play some video games, Fallout 76, Fallout 4, Destiny. And it's just something for us to come together, just without just talking on a phone. At least we get to do something. So I want to say I am a gamer. Mm-hmm. I just wish, I'm glad I don't have the time.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. If you were, I mean, Skyrim is extremely addictive.
Yeah, oh my God.
If you got to Elder Scrolls Online, especially if other friends playing, you're going to get addicted to that. The reason I bring it up is Fallout was one of those series that a lot of people in the past had said, well, I wish there was a TV show or a movie, but there's no way they're going to get it right. It would be impossible. People have said the same thing about Elder Scrolls. And of course, the community, I've put out there. I'm wondering, okay, now that Todd has seen that a Fallout TV show can work, would an Elder Scrolls TV show or movie work? Do you think that's possible?
You know, here's the deal. And I want to say they got lightning in a bottle. And I'm going to use another television show as a reference. And I like the show. And I think it had a possibility of really taking off, and I don't know why it did. Halo, and I know Pablo Schreiber. I've worked with him before, and I was like, wow, good for you, brother, go. And it only lasted 2-3 seasons.
Yeah, people were kind of. The biggest complaint I heard was Master Chief wasn't what they expected.
Well, that's the other thing, is that they kind of took the lore and I want to say threw it out the window, but never take your mask off. That was Master
Right,
Chief.
right.
But no actor in the realm of reality.
Well, Pedro Pascal.
Exactly.
I mean, you're talking Mandalorian. Yeah.
So we're in that same realm of like, no, stick to the lore of the game, stick to the lore of what people know. And one of them was, don't take your helmet off. Mandalorian, Master Chief. For Fallout, there's one piece of lore, and I might make this a trivia point on my Q&A tomorrow. There's one, and I'll give it up to you. There's one piece of lore that I don't think anybody knows about. A couple people, really deep, hardcore fans, the vials that the ghoul takes are not canon.
Yes, that was something they invented for the show. And a lot of people have debated about what is it actually? How does that work?
Right.
Does this change the way that we are supposed to understand the way ghouls work?
We'll find out season 2.
Okay, cool.
Supposedly.
Because I've got my theories.
Yeah,
but,
there's theories.
Yeah.
And the thing is that they wrote it, and they had to get it cleared, apparently by Bethesda, going, "What? This is outside of the world," but they needed something story-wise to keep the Cooper Howard character from turning full feral.
Right. They like a point of tension.
Correct.
So one of the things that they've incorporated in 76 about ghouls, now that you can become a ghoul, is that your feral meter increases, and by taking any form of any sort of drug or chems,
Yeah,
that's the word, any sort of chems, it lowers that meter,
Right.
especially the ghoul serum, which does that the most. Because they like to keep things consistent, and you don't have to confirm or deny this because I know this is a season 2 thing, but my theory is that in the show, it works very similarly, that ghouls can possibly turn feral. They don't know if ever they will or when that will happen, but everybody's kind of on a ticking clock, or at least they think they might be on a ticking clock, and therefore they need to take some sort of chem, and something like jet or something might be temporarily a fix, but the best one is whatever that thing is in that vial.
Put a name to it yet so far. But yeah, it was a point of tension in the storyline where they're at the Gulper situation and the vials get crushed, and Howard Cooper, the ghoul, is sitting there going, "Oh, here we go. I got so much time. What do we do?" And he knows if he sells Lucy to these raiders,
Right. Which creates a moral dilemma for him.
creates a moral dilemma, blah, blah, blah. So we all know where that went through if we watched the show. So now he's got a big old pocket of vials, and he's good for a while. But then we run into kind of moving around in the timeline. Roger, the guy who's the ghoul stuck in the sand, that they talk to him. He's like, oh, he says he's been around the longest of all of us, 200 years. It's like, okay, so he's been doing bounty hunting and doing whatever he has to stay alive. Why is he staying alive?
Right.
We don't know. Season 2 might reveal something. At the end of season 1, we found out what happened to Truly, Lucy's mother. We don't know what happened to the daughter.
Right, yeah. There's all these mysteries that are and I'm sure we'll get some stuff in season 2, and then they'll hold it out to season 3. Do you have and again, if this is too far, feel free not to answer. Do you have a sense of how many seasons they will potentially go for?
In the world of networks, 5 is the magic number. As far as characters, I've heard some characters will last all 5, some are not going to last only 3. But yeah, you're not going to see all the characters survive till the end. That's
I mean, it's Fallout. I would expect that there will be death. Yeah.
I have my own theories about certain things, and I talked to Geneva and Graham, the writers. I was like, you guys got to think about this. Is because this is a contention for me, and it still brings PTSD to me almost all the time I think about it. Is that Lucy gets her finger cut.
Yes.
She goes to Super Duper Mart. They sew one on. The ghoul keeps Lucy's finger, and then obviously he sews it onto himself. Okay, fine. They should have Lucy when Howard Cooper's character, maybe whatever the serum is, slowly starts to not work. Lucy has to kill him. And what does she do? Cuts her finger back off, sews it back on.
I love it.
Because when that happened, I go, guys, to the writers, Graham and Geneva, I said, guys, I can't paint her finger every day. I mean, it's a finger. Pockets, washing hands, eating, everything. I said, it's going to need
its own artist following her to touch it up.
It's so much work. Like, oh, don't worry about it. The storyline's going to take her into Vault 4. They're going to give her a serum.
She'll have a glove.
And they'll heal that finger back to human.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, thank you. So that was like an episode away. Like, I can do this for another 3 weeks. No problem. Yeah, that never happened.
You're right, yeah.
It's so much so, and she talked about it, Ella. She talked about it on an interview, and I nicknamed it, all right, it's time to do your poop finger.
Yeah, because it's darker.
It's darker, yeah. And she said it, and it became an industry, not an industry term, but a show-wide term. Oh, yeah, call Mike. Her poop finger needs touch-up. So it became one of those things, so much so, Amazon with Bethesda, the conversation happened so long ago, it might be a little convoluted, is that they were making action figures of them. And they had to get the likeness right. So they ran them kind of through me. They said, is this right? Is this right? Is this right? I go, yes, but no. They're like, what do you mean no? I go, is this after she comes out of the Super Duper Mart? This look? Yeah. Her finger's not brown.
Yeah.
Not brown. And it was in a prototype run of her little action figure. I'm like, oh yeah, no problem. We'll take care of that. They never did.
Oh no. And people will notice that.
They will notice that. So look at the finger. Make sure it's brown, or make sure it's not brown. You got yourself a collectible.
There you go. Collectible. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for this, for your time and being able to, it's very cool meeting you and getting to speak with somebody behind the scenes on such an awesome project. I'm chomping at the bit to find out what happens in New Vegas, because of course it seems like that's where they're going at the end of season 1. And I've seen some of the leaked photos. So it looks like the strip will at least show up.
Yes.
There's all sorts of cool stuff. I have no idea where they're going to go for season 3, because clearly, yeah.
No idea.
But I'm excited to hear that. And hopefully I'll get to run into you again in one of these things in the future.
Yeah, please do. That'd be great fun. I would love to talk to you again.
Awesome. If people wanted to follow you, I don't know if you're on social media, or follow your stuff, reach out to you, any of that kind of stuff, what what would they do?
The best way to go, Instagram, Mike Makeup. Just look up Mike Makeup, or find the Fallout for Hope, and you'll find me there, or one of the Fallout podcasts. I don't know if that was Fallout for Hope podcast.
Yeah, so the Fallout Lorecast is this show. Ken and I used to do a show together, but Ken, he does the Chad Fallout 76 story podcast and all of that. So yes.
So yeah, find me through Instagram, Mike Makeup, or just go to one of the Fallout for Hope pages, and I'm linked to them.
Yeah, we all have links in the show notes and all that stuff. So thank you so much. It's been great.
Thank you.
All right, so now I am sitting down with Mark Meer, who you might recognize primarily, most famously, as the voice of Commander Shepard. And he's done a lot of different projects, and we've been talking about some of the things that he's been doing. And he actually just got off stage with a bunch of other voice talent doing this fun improv reading thing, which was a blast. Mark, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me and talk. It's so nice to actually get to meet you in person.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And yes, face to face, in the flesh, in meat space, as they say.
In meat space, yeah. So for those of you who don't listen to the Mass Effect Lorecast, Mark and I got a chance to talk. It was about 2 years ago, I think, a year and a half. And I got to interview you about Commander Shepard and your experience with the Mass Effect games. But your expertise goes well beyond simply space into a variety of different titles. You've done Baldur's Gate 2. So you're, in fact, D&D is a thing, if I recall from our previous conversation, that you do regularly.
I do a lot of events with D&D in a castle, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's playing Dungeons and Dragons in a castle, a variety of castles across the UK, and more recently, some castles in America.
That's amazing.
I just did one in Ohio, Landol's Mohican Castle, which is a castle in the middle of the Mohican Forest.
That's crazy. That's weird that we have castles here.
Yeah, there's some Appalachian castles, yeah.
That's great. So let's talk about the experience of being a character in video games, because video games hit people, I think, in ways that things like movies and TV shows don't hit exactly the same way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's in large measure because of the amount of time that you spend with the characters. So if you are the lead character in a movie, the audience will spend about 2 hours with you. If you're the lead character in a video game, as I was, just on one playthrough, player might spend 100 hours with you. Yeah. And when they do 5 or 6 playthroughs, then that just increases the amount of time that they spend not only with your voice, but also inhabiting your character. So Commander Shepard, of course, was one of the very first fully voiced protagonists. So both Jennifer and I were kind of guinea pigs in a way, but the sheer amount of time that they spend with you, and with you essentially being their avatar in the game world. Yeah, I think that's what really promotes this sense of connection.
Yeah, and this is something, if you guys are interested in the full conversation about Commander Shepard, definitely go look up that episode of the Mass Effect Lorecast. You shared a ton of really great information on that episode. You did mention on that as well that if we go back in time to Mass Effect 1, the idea of a voiced protagonist in a game, carrying that game the entire length of 100 hours that you're going to spend in the game, was very new. It's something that they tried to recreate in Fallout 4 when Fallout 4 came out, to a mixed reception because people were more comfortable, at least familiar with the voiceless protagonists of previous games. Do you feel that that is something that you see the industry doing more and more of? I mean, it feels like the further we get into games, the more cinematic they become. But there's that line. They're still games. Like, there's this weird balance between expressing what the actor was expressing and being a stand-in for the player. You have two minds in the same being in a way. It's tricky, right?
Yeah, and as you mentioned, some people prefer They prefer the block of text because then they can put whatever reading or inflection on it that they want. So some people prefer that they find that it's easier to role play if they don't have a voice guiding them through, as it were. But as for which way it's going to go in the future, it's hard to say. I'm not a predictor of trends in video games.
Sure.
But I think, I'm not sure if there is another game besides Fallout 4 that did it on the scale that the Mass Effect trilogy did.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Oh, well, something like Cyberpunk.
Sure. Oh,
Cyberpunk would be one. The protagonist in Baldur's Gate 3 is your character, but you can pick a character that already has a voice and a character.
Yeah.
I'm putting this in quotes.
If you wanted to be Karlach on your
Right. So like some of those games, and typically it's these big RPGs that are the most like that. And to kind of connect this through, a big role-playing game is you're playing as a character, right?
Yeah.
And with something like Mass Effect, you are stepping in, especially like, let's go back to the beginning of Mass Effect 1. You're hired to do this character, but this character doesn't exist previous to that. It's like on stage, I think, was it Paul who said something, or one of you said something like, yeah, you could hire me to be like Superman or Batman or whatever, but it would be amazing to be a brand new character.
Oh, yes, that was Neil.
Neil mentioned that. It would be the real prize would be to be able to do a brand new character that becomes popular in its own right. And now you are that character because you are acting, you are voicing that character. I feel like that's very similar to what happened with Commander Shepard. Do you feel like, did they give you like a sheet that said, okay, these are the characteristics of this person? And
well,
how did that go?
I mean, in the case of Commander Shepard, the challenge for both Jennifer and I in approaching that role was the fact that there is no canon Commander Shepard.
Right.
First of all, is Commander Shepard male or female? Well, that's up to the player.
Right.
Also, is Commander Shepard a by the books, essentially a Boy Scout or a borderline sociopath? That is also up to the player. What's Commander Shepard's background? Were they raised on Earth? Were they raised in space? All these things. Right. So it was all very malleable. I guess, we were talking about, what other games have fully voiced protagonists? Totally forgot about The Witcher.
The Witcher, yes.
Yeah, and so
Doug Cockle.
Yeah, so you're looking at, if you've got Geralt is an established character, and so you can
from novels.
Yes, and so you can very clearly say this is what he is like, and this is what his characteristics are. Mm-hmm. With Commander Shepard, a lot of it is going to be player choice. Right. So we had to find the core of Commander Shepard, and we worked with our directors for that. And what we sort of came up with was the thing that's, whether Renegade or Paragon, whether Spaceborne or Earther, Commander Shepard is a highly decorated military officer who's used to giving orders under pressure. So that is the one common thread that runs through all versions of Commander Shepard. Other than that, it's very much up in the air.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense, because whether you pick the Paragon or Renegade choices, there's still that core of the character that, although he might be saying something a little bit more psychopathic in one of those options, he still comes across as the same person.
Yes.
He's still like that core, and that feels like an amorphous thing. I used to do improv, and I've dabbled in acting. I'm by no means experienced in the things that you are. So I would imagine that finding and keeping that core is a delicate process.
It can be, yeah, certainly. And again, for that, we relied very heavily on our directors. In my case, was Shauna Perry and Caroline Livingstone, and later Suzanne Hunka. They were the ladies that I worked with. And there were a variety of directors. I think the LA people worked with Caroline and Shauna a fair bit as well, but there were other directors involved too. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about some other characters that you've done. What are some other ones that come to mind that you particularly enjoyed being?
Well, let's see. One of the ones that's had sort of a life beyond video games would be Baloth the Entertainer, Baloth Baratil. From the Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. So, as mentioned, my very first voice work in video games ever was Baldur's Gate 2.
Which is a classic.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. And I've told this story before, but I did literally one line in that game in the final cutscene. So,
oh, gosh.
So you had to finish that very long game to get to even see my scene. But that one line apparently was good enough that BioWare went, yes, keep hiring this guy. So,
well, nice.
When it came time to do the Baldur's Gate Enhanced Editions, that was done by a company called Beamdog. And these were a lot of, in some cases, some of the original BioWare people who'd gone off on their own and started their own company. And they got the license to spruce up the old Baldur's Gate games, make them so you could play them on an iPad, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And they added in lots of new content, including entirely new characters. Baloth was the final boss of the sort of mini game called the Black Pits, which was like a gladiatorial game. You basically get kidnapped by this insane drow sorcerer, taken to the Underdark, and made to fight in his gladiatorial.
Nice. Yeah.
And I played a variety of characters in that. So not only Baloth, but also his beholder, I wouldn't say assistant, more like beholder prisoner, who was quite mad at him, called Gluralk. And I played his right-hand man, who was a Rakshasa called Ilan Garak.
Wow.
And yeah,
That's a fancy name.
Yes. And Baloth, the thing about Baloth is that, so he was the final boss of this, and you killed him to win through the Black Pits, but he had a djinn, and he'd made a wish that if I am ever slain, I will be instantly resurrected. And the problem was the djinn hated him, and so did resurrect him, but he wasn't like a 20th level archmage anymore. He was resurrected at the same level as the rest of the party, whatever.
Right.
So then you could actually get him into your party if you didn't mind having a chaotic evil drow in the party.
Sure.
Some people want.
Well, no party's complete without a chaotic evil drow.
Yeah, if you don't mind Minsk and all the good people leaving, and just play with the evil guys. So Baloth, he was a lot of fun, and he was sort of like a secret party character. Subsequently, because I dungeon master a lot, I wrote some stuff that involved him, and so I used him as like an NPC villain in my own games, and then later at the games I played at D&D in a castle, and I played him at a bunch of live D&D events like D&D Live back in 2019, and various online things and whatnot. And I even cosplayed him once. I hosted a cosplay contest with Jessica Negri as Baloth, and Beamdog went all out. Like, they paid for the rental of like this $2,000 lace front wig,
Wow.
The real human hair, long white wig. They got a makeup artist to do like the drow makeup on me. They, they got a prop maker. They custom made his staff and everything. So, Baloth has continued to have a life outside of video games and around the RPG table.
Yeah, I've in interviewing in the past voice actors, yourself and other voice actors, some of the others who I hope to actually get to speak with again here. They have mentioned that oftentimes you grow attached to a character. You spend so much time in that character's head. Basically, you you're voicing them, but you are thinking like them in order to act, in order to become them. Yes. And there's this quality of ownership where you're sharing ownership with the people who write it, the people who produce the game, all of that, but then also yourself. So it seems like it's a really fun thing to be able to take a character that you started out with in just kind of this, a few lines at the end of the game, and then really grow it, like flesh it out into like actually acting, putting on the makeup and the outfit. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. And in Baloth's case, like, some people say, oh, that character of yours. And I have to always go, it's like, I didn't actually create him. He was created by Beamdog for this. But again, one does feel somewhat of a sense of ownership.
I get to borrow him and take him out every so often.
Sure, exactly. Yeah. And you get to, the version of him that's in the game is somewhat different than because he was a villain for starters. And the thing I always liked about him was that he was very much in the vein of like some of the more zanier X-Men villains like Mojo or Arcade, especially in the whole kidnapping the group and putting them through their weird death traps and
Mojo-verse and all the weird.
Definitely the Mojo thing, definitely, because he's concerned about ratings and he wants to please the crowd and entertainment. That's what he's all about.
Yeah.
Definitely Baloth is one of those characters that I enjoy doing.
That's awesome. Now, for a lot of these projects, you've done more than just one character. So in Mass Effect, you're Commander Shepard. You got tons of lines with that. But you're Vorcha. You're a number. You're all of the Vorcha.
Anytime you see a member of that species, it's me.
Right. And so in those kinds of projects, and Vorcha, this question doesn't apply as much to that because that voice is so distinctly different.
That's why I'm all of them. They got me to do the first one, and I basically just screamed and screeched with a mouth half full of water in the booth. And they were like, oh, we like that. We actually do like that for the Vorcha, but we don't want to ask any other actors we don't want to make them have to do that. Mm-hmm. So why don't you just be all of them?
Right. So where I was going with the question, outside of Vorcha, because that's so distinctly different, in my own dabbling with voice work and those kinds of things, one of the things I've learned through practicing recording myself is you have to commit to a point with each character where at least this is just my perspective, so please correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
One of the things I noticed was oftentimes there was a commonality that would come through in each of those voices that was kind of like me peeking out, as opposed to fully committing and getting to a place where it would be much harder to tell the same person did that voice.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Is that a thing? Is that something you take in, especially when you're, say, two characters in the same game, maybe even talking to each other? Is there an awareness of that?
I mean, there are scenes where my characters speak to each other in Mass Effect. In fact, it's kind of an in-joke in the Citadel DLC because Shepard actually runs into Blasto, who Blasto was created as an audio Easter egg.
Right.
He certainly was never intended to actually be on, camera, as it were, let alone interacting with Shepard. So that was a lot of fun because there was also a Vorcha in that scene. So it was like,
three of you.
Yeah, there was three of me in that scene. And it was lots of fun. And I never worried about that with those characters because, again, the Vorcha is just like a monster, screechy voice.
Yeah. It's hard to tell it's the same actor because it's so distinctly different.
And then Blasto is a Hanar, so he has that sort of, this one will pop a cap in your ass. He doesn't say that, but something similar.
Sure.
And Shepard, ultimately, Shepard is of those three is the closest to my own voice.
Yes.
I often say Commander Shepard is basically me trying to sound tough. So
yeah. And that's what I find so interesting about this is sometimes you get a character and it's like your own voice works for that. You just now have to play a different person, but it's really just a tweak of your own voice.
Yeah.
But then there's other characters that are like you are legitimately doing something that it does not normally come out of this face. And it's something
if you're looking to differentiate, just give them different accents. This guy's French, this guy's German.
Yeah. All of my French just comes from Pepe Le Pew, which I'm sure is super insulting to French people. Oh, Pepe Le Pew. So we are here at this convention. GCX is raising money for St. Jude, and there's a lot of Fallout stuff and Elder Scrolls stuff, which is part of why I got invited to begin with, because that's the podcast that this is going to go on. And I know that you haven't gotten the opportunity to play characters in those universes, but you're a gamer. You love playing that stuff.
I mean, I've probably logged the most hours in the Fallout universe of any other, and it's largely due to Fallout 4.
Yeah.
And I got very into building settlements.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I've done replays, and most recently when the big update basically wiped all mods, I went back and looked, and all my modded games have been wiped out. But I realized, that means I can just replay all the DLC fresh. So after the TV show aired, everybody was like, I got to play some Fallout. I went back and I replayed Nuka World and Far Harbor and actually built a vault this time.
Yeah.
In my first playthrough, I kind of did the bare minimum to get through the story part of that. But last year, after the show aired, I spent probably several weeks just going back and making a vault that was immaculate and exactly how I wanted it.
Yeah.
Nice. Got right up to the build limit. So
yeah, as we all do.
Yeah.
So you did mention that although you haven't been a actual main type of, an official character, let's call it that, official character hired by Bethesda, you have worked in mods.
I have.
And you got to play a very, very famous character, the guy who started the Brotherhood of Steel in a mod.
The original Maxon, yeah. Roger Maxon. And that was for a mod called Brotherhood, which was put out by the same folks who did, if you remember a series of vids called The Storyteller.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so it was those folks. Mm-hmm. And it was basically the memory den was they found, they'd recreated the origin of the Brotherhood of Steel. So in game, you would go to the memory den and then go into this program that showed the origins of the Brotherhood of Steel. And I got to play Roger Maxon. Wow.
That's fun because he is one of those characters that I don't expect in any future Fallout games that we're actually going to get him because unless a future game is set. In fact, that was one of my ideas for a TV show was what if they did the TV show, but it was Roger Maxon's story instead of doing instead they went more in the future with the story.
Although they didn't. They started the day the Bob struck.
That's true. They do flashback to the past. So
you got to see Cooper Howard's story.
Right. Yeah. Right. But what if there's flashbacks now that the Brotherhood is involved, flashbacks to Roger Maxon and the founding of the Brotherhood? That would be amazing.
I mean, maybe Cooper Howard is somehow tangentially involved with that. You know?
he's been around so long, he's kind of affected everything in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were to work on a mainline Fallout game, is there a character or a type of character or something that you would enjoy playing?
I mean, of course, your listeners can't see what I'm wearing, but I'm cosplaying a ghoul.
Yeah. So I didn't realize it was Mark. This is for the listeners who obviously can't see us right now. When I got here, Ken is introducing me to people, and he's like, "Oh, and Mark Mears here," and you were in a ghoul costume with a whole mask on and everything, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I didn't even. I was no way I would have known.
Yeah. To paint the full picture, so I'm a ghoul, but I'm not Walton Goggins' ghoul.
Right.
I am an OC, original character. That I've played. I hosted the Dragon Con parade as him last year, and I've done some cosplay contests, and now I'm here at this. His name is Max Rads.
Nice.
And so my idea is that he was around when the bombs dropped, and he does wear a vault suit because he was supposed to be in a vault and stepped outside for a cigarette during orientation.
Right at the wrong time.
They closed the door. So he has a vault suit, but he never really spent much time in a vault, and he's just been, for the last few centuries, just been wandering across America.
Awesome.
And his current job is like a Pip-Boy radio DJ. So I got a soft spot for ghouls. Yeah, I'd love to play a ghoul.
That's awesome. So I know sometimes the developers will actually listen to this podcast as well.
Okay, so, smooth skin, man. I'm right here.
So yeah, if this character shows up in a future Fallout game, that will be phenomenal because we'll know the origin of the character.
Excellent. Okay, yeah, that's Max Rads, Maxrads.
That's great. What about Elder Scrolls? Have you dabbled in Elder Scrolls?
I certainly played a lot.
Yeah.
Before Baldur's Gate 3 came out, I think Skyrim was the most popular venue to create your Dungeons and Dragons character in a video game.
Yeah.
And I, again, much like I did in Fallout, where I would just spend so much time building settlements and whatnot, there were Skyrim characters that I had where I didn't even attempt to address the dragon problem, because it's like, no, I need those to build armor. And, so I just had, an orcish smith who had a very nice house that he'd built, and I'd carefully arranged all the books according to subject matter in my house.
Nice.
And, I'd earned money by, killing dragons and making them into armor. And it was just, it's a peaceful life.
Yeah. So you mentioned an orc. In one of the big things about Elder Scrolls, just like D&D, is you got all the different races.
Yeah.
Is there a race that you kind of lean more toward, or would you prefer to, can you do like a Nord voice? Would you want to do a Nord, or would it be cool to be a type of elf?
I always lean towards non-humans. I probably want an orc or Argonian or something like that.
Yeah.
Or a Khajiit,
Oh, this one thinks that this is a great idea.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I like the Khajiits a lot.
In fact, for Max Rads, I actually made a Khajiit joke because I had him with like a bunch of stuff, and it was what was the joke?
Ghoul has wares if you have caps.
Yeah.
Nice. That's great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk and share your experiences with all of this. This has been very, very, very cool. I know that you, to kind of wrap this up, I know that you do a lot of these public events and the community aspect of it. Can you speak on just a little bit of what it means to you to be part of this bigger community and how that works into your career? Well,
I mean, I know nothing else because I was a nerd long before I ever landed a voice acting gig. So things really worked out well for me in those terms. So I was the sort of person who would go to cons like long before I was doing this professionally. So getting to go to cons as a guest, like that's really the icing on the cake.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, well, I would do it anyway. Yeah. But now
when I go to cons, I will spend a fair bit of time in the merch room buying stuff for my collection and just hanging out and taking pictures of cosplay and doing cosplay myself and, having a good time. That's why Dragon Con actually is one of my favorite conventions in the multiverse because it is so fan oriented, completely fan driven, and so much creativity and positivity. I look forward to it every year.
Yeah, the community, the Fallout community, the Elder Scrolls community, I've found is a place that a lot of people call home because it is so positive. It is so supportive. We all can nerd out about the things that we love together, and we all grow closer together because of that. So it is pretty wonderful. So do you have anything coming up that you would like to share? Or do you do any cool D&D stuff people can sign up for, or anything, or ways people can get a hold of you, or just keep track of what you're doing?
Yes, actually. D&D in a Castle is open to the public. I won't lie and tell you that it's a very cheap and economical thing. It is more of a bucket list item, but it's amazing. I have a great time there. And I think they have just released the sign up for our spring 2026 sessions, which will be at Walworth Castle in the UK. I do know my first table is completely sold out, but there should be seats available at my second table, which will be right at the end of April. So I think the ones that tickets are available for is April 26th to 30th. 2026. Also, I DM at Gen Con. I'll be running a game for D&D in a Castle. Not in a castle, at a convention.
At a convention, sort of. Castle.
At Gen Con, though.
Yeah.
You sign up for those like you sign up for normal Gen Con games. I will be doing Dragon Con, as mentioned this year, and we'll be doing Improvised Dungeons and Dragons, which is a show that I DM, and I do that with Dad's Garage Theater out of Atlanta. They're a fantastic bunch. We'll be doing that again this year with some special guests. And last year at Dragon Con, I had the opportunity to actually DM a game for the Baldur's Gate 3 voice cast.
Oh, fun.
And I think there's another batch of them this year. So I'll be running that again at this year's Dragon Con, including with one of the members of the cast that's coming is Samantha Bayar. And I just did a UK tour of Call of Cthulhu with them. So it'll be a bit of a reunion. And Sam is fantastic. I always have a great time with them.
Awesome. So lots of opportunities to meet Mark and go to these big events. And heck, if you can make your way to the UK and go to a castle and play D&D, I can't think of anything much more fun than that.
And I'm constantly doing conventions. So I'll, watch my social media. And I think it's been announced that, yes, I think we have actually announced this one. We are going to be, a bunch of the Mass Effect cast is going to be at Pittsburgh at the beginning of October. So you can look out for that. And
wow. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and I hope you have a fun rest of the convention.
Thank you.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car is gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
So now I'm able to sit down with Paul Eiding, who is the voice of the Vault-Tec rep in Fallout 4, along with a very large cast of other characters across all sorts of games. And Paul, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk. It's so nice to actually get to meet you in person.
It's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so I just watched you and some other voice actors do this improv kind of reading thing where you had to, people would ding a bell and you'd have to change your voice and do a different voice, a different impression or whatever. And it's always, I find it always so intriguing how gifted actors, especially actors who use their voices in these games, are at even just on stage, turning on a dime and all of a sudden being a different person and really leaning into that. And I know you have a ton of experience through lots of different games, a lot of games that the Fallout community loves, but other games that we've played as well. What got you into this as a career?
Wow. As a career, the interesting thing is I never thought of it as a career. I look back and someone said, "Man, you've had a nice career." It's like I never thought of it as that. I always thought of it as the next job. I'm an actor.
Yeah.
Started out on stage. That's my first love because that's where I fill my soul every time I go back on stage. In fact, I'm working on a play right now, a 2-character play. And the voiceover happened because someone actually saw me on stage. I played a play called Cloud 9, where I played 3 characters, an African manservant, intentionally with no makeup, a white man, but with a different accent. And I played a Cockney soldier, and I played a 5-year-old girl.
Wow.
And
Talk about range.
yeah, that was a stretch. And a gentleman saw me by the name of Gordon Hunt, Helen Hunt, a famous actress, his father.
Wow.
He directed everything at Hanna-Barbera. Well, he came to see the show, liked what he saw, called me, and I did 10 different types of characters. And it started. There's a quick story before that is I was signed when I first moved to L.A. only on camera. But the voiceover person came through as they were watching my on-camera reel, heard something in my voice, called me in for an audition, and I booked it. And then she started sending me out. But the big thing that happened that changed my career was meeting Gordon Hunt and him thinking that I had some talent. And then it just started after doing Saturday morning cartoons, the GoBots and the Sky Commanders and Johnny Quest, all those kinds.
All the stuff my generation grew up on. Yeah.
Then I got Diablo and StarCraft and Metal Gear Solid and the Transformers.
Wow, you've just listed off not just a lot of famous cartoons, but some of the most storied games in video game history. We're talking Blizzard with Diablo and StarCraft. We're talking Metal Gear. You've been a part of Fallout. You've put your, well, it's not really fingerprint, your voice print on some of the best, most famous, most popular games ever. That's phenomenal. That is.
Yeah, I've been very lucky. I really have been. It's one thing. What says it? Luck is opportunity with preparation. Every once in a while something you'll get lucky because you're in the right place at the right time, but then you have to be able to follow through with it.
Right.
And I've been very lucky to be involved with some really terrific projects that at the time you don't know it's going to be anything, super like that.
Right.
We knew Metal Gear was going to be something different because we saw the script, which was like a telephone book.
Yeah, they were pushing like a cinematic experience in a video game before a lot of other games even consider that as an option. And I think they inspired a lot of games to kind of go in that direction.
We changed the way video games were made. Yeah. We really did. And I'm really proud of it, and especially that it's still going on. And then with Fallout, and Skyrim came first. Or did it? No, wait a minute. I did Fallout 3.
Okay, yeah.
And I did like 19 characters in that. And then 3 characters in Skyrim, which I love doing, especially Galmar Stonefist, and also Septimus Cygnus. Mm-hmm. He's a little fellow. I lived in the ice cave. Do you know the Elder Scrolls?
Yes.
And I was saying earlier in the panel we did that somebody had taken my character from Fallout, from the Vault-Tec rep, and made prank calls.
Yes, I've seen these. They're hilarious.
Did you see Septimus Cygnus?
I think so. Yes. The same creator did a number of these on their YouTube channel.
Yeah, where Septimus calls libraries.
Right. Yes, right.
Whoever did it did a great job. It's hilarious.
Yeah, they chopped up your performance into what I'm guessing was a series of different voice clips.
Right.
And then as they were on the call, they were able to pick the right voice clip that would make sense for the person they were talking to. And because it was a legitimate voice performance, they thought they were talking to a real person. And it turned into, wackiness ensues. The person gets upset and hangs up the phone or whatever.
Yeah. So Paul Lighting is being a jerk and didn't even know it.
I guess from that perspective, wow, you're such a jerk. When people take, let me go back in time, because your career started with these characters in the 1980s.
Yeah.
So in the 1980s, the internet wasn't a thing. You would never have been able to predict that people would have taken your voice and used it to do prank calls 20, 30 years later, right? Like what is, from your perspective, how, first of all, does it feel different doing a voice today with the way the internet interacts with that? Do you have different concerns or considerations? Is it flattering? How does that feel? And speak on that a little bit.
That's a great question. You know, back in the 80s and early 90s, there wasn't any kind of fandom for voice actors. Mm-hmm. We were
other than like Mel Brooks or somebody, right?
Mel Brooks and Mel Blanc and Dawes Butler. But most of us, you're in the dark. Your voice is there, the voice of God or the voice of any kind of character or creature, but there's not a human being behind it.
Right, and very few people think about the person behind the character. They just think about the character.
Exactly. And now, often you get typed into a particular type of character. I'll tell you, one of the nicest things that happened is that when they started having Comic-Cons and whatnot, I'll speak for myself personally. I'm a stage actor. And when you do a performance on stage, when you're acting, you're there with the audience, okay?
Yeah.
And it's a shared event. So you get the feel of how the audience feels, whether you're connecting with the audience, whether you're a good guy or bad guy. And at the end, whether there's applause or boos or whatever,
right,
there's a connection there. And you feel like it's a real sharing. With voiceover, you didn't know that.
Right. There's no feedback. So I used to tour in bands. I've played shows in front of 1,500 people. Mm-hmm. I've done that. And it's the same kind of experience. You get the feedback from the energy of the room, the people reacting to the music, and being in a stage performance like a play is very much the same thing. Did the laugh land? Did they like the way I delivered that line? Are they paying attention to the dialogue, or are they zoning out? like all of that. So from your perspective, it's very different when it's a recording.
Right. And one of the nicest things that happened for me when Comic-Con started happening and voice actors are being invited to meet fans of their work. It's so wonderful to get feedback. And I make sure that I don't take it as them, how do I put this, loving me. They love the work that I do. Mm-hmm. They love the characters that you create. They mean something to people. Even when you don't know, you think, oh, I'm just like with the Transformers. We're just selling toys and selling commercials, And then you hear story after story from different people about how your voice or something that happened in that show or film touched them and changed them in some way. It's like, that's what an actor. That's why I became an actor.
Right. It's the human element.
Exactly. So that's why I love going to Comic-Cons and meeting fans. Truly. I mean, it's like, because we're in it. I'm nothing.
Yeah.
No actor is anything without an audience.
Right. It's an art form. Any artist has, if they don't have fans of their art, then there's no communication happening. You might as well just lock yourself in your basement and do things for yourself. Yeah. Right.
You can be a great musician if you're sitting in your basement or your living room, whatever, and nobody hears it. Okay, yay me.
Yeah. I get to play my guitar really good.
Right. Listen to my voice. Aren't I sound good today?
I can do an impression of a Khajiit. This one. Yeah. So, that is so interesting to go from a place where, like you said, you were in the dark. Nobody even thought about the voice actor, to being a place where you come out into the light. And from my experience, being somebody I've been doing podcasts for almost 7 years now. I've been a gamer for a very long time. I'm old enough to have seen the evolution of these games through a lot of the titles that you've played. The community resonates with the voice acting community in part because you are a piece of that story that meant something to them, and it wouldn't have been the same without you. But also from the perspective of people, especially young people today, are looking at the potential for jobs and what jobs will I actually enjoy doing. And the idea of you've inspired people to want to do what you do because they go, well, I love playing games. These are the things that have really moved me. And maybe I'm not a stage actor. Maybe I don't have a face for movies or whatever. Right. But I loved doing theater in high school, and I love, using my voice in creative ways. This is something that I just wish I had the opportunity. And there are, I would say, thousands of people out there who would love the opportunity, even to just do an interview, to be able to play a character, even a bit part in the background somewhere.
And, there are 1,000 people out there who are doing it, not necessarily for, big games and not making a lot of money, but they're actually doing it. Mm-hmm. I have friends who started out as fans of Metal Gear and Transformers or whatever, who live in, the young man who lived in York, England, another one outside of Edinburgh, and very talented guys. I mean, their voices were the characters they created. One's a musician that was just great work. And they kept wanting to do it, but they had, he's in York. He says, well, I'm not even close to London. What can I do here? Well, I told him, I said, you get a microphone. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have to be a $3,000 mic, a couple $100 at the most, and start recording stuff. Go online, watch and see. And there's always somebody who's making something and looking for voices. And the gentleman in York, who at the time was 21 years old, I guess it's been 6-7 years ago, he now is really busy doing audiobooks. He just loved doing audiobooks. The other young man wrote music for, was there a video game called Dust?
Dust. Trying to remember.
I don't remember, but he's writing music for video games and also does voices for them. Mm-hmm. So there are ways of doing it. So my feeling is always, if you got to do it, then there are ways now to do it. Just get online. Just I was going to say I would be serious, but I'm not being serious. Yeah, if you got a great voice, as long as you can't take any of my jobs, go for it.
Don't take my jobs. That's a good tip. He's applying for that one, so I'm gonna I'll let him have that. So speaking of your jobs, you said every actor has the potential of being typecast as a specific role, and then you feel like, okay, well, I can do more than that. Like, let me spread my wings, that kind of thing. Do you feel like that's something that has happened?
Oh yeah. Listen, for the 4 incarnations of Ben 10, okay, mm-hmm. that we did. When we did the original Ben 10, then we moved to Alien Force, then Ultimate Alien, then Omniverse. Each time we went to another incarnation of the show, they changed directors and producer to get a different feel for it. For the first 3 incarnations, I was basically Grandpa Max.
Okay.
And then maybe an ancillary, a truck driver would go by. Hey! Something like that. That would be it.
Yeah, they just needed like a line. So they're like, you're here. Can you just do this?
Yeah. I can't do that, sir. That kind of stuff. But then in 4, they brought in a different director who I'd worked with as an actress, Sue Blue. And she said, why are you only doing that character? I said, because that's the only one they were me doing. I said, okay, cool.
It's not my choice.
So I ended up doing 5 different regular characters, which was, as a voice actor, it's what you want to do.
That's so much more fun.
yeah, you stretch out a little bit, you know, say, hey, I can still do that stuff.
Yeah.
But you do get, you can get pigeonholed. Even way back in the day, I had a casting director, the guy who cast me for the Transformers. He always saw me as a character, an actor who did basically upper register characters.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was always up here, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
But clearly your voice, even just your speaking voice, has a lower. Like
the evaluation of Decepticon capability indicates a distinct tactical deficiency. He had me up there. So I never did any of G.I. Joe.
Right.
All those guys down here.
Right.
Or Optimus Prime.
Well, no, didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But then other casting directors would bring me in for the deeper characters.
Yeah.
So it's like just because they knew you that way.
Mm-hmm.
And there is ageism.
Yeah.
In the voiceover, just like on camera.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, that seems, when you can't see somebody's face and they can do whatever voice you need, then does it really matter what age they are?
You know what? I think you should be a casting director. No,
I agree.
absolutely. Look, Dawes Butler did Elroy, who was 8 years old on the Jetsons.
Yeah.
He did Elroy till he died at 77 years old.
Yeah.
It's like, the thing I love about voiceover is that generally you're cast for your talent, not for and how much fun you are to be around.
Right, yeah, because nobody wants to hire you if you suck to work with.
Yeah.
But then, you know, on camera, it's like, how tall are you? How short are you? How fat? How thin? You know, are you a leading man? Are you a character? Voiceover, you can be anything.
Yeah.
You're limited by your talent.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be.
Right, yeah, that's well put. That's well put. And from the talent perspective, I think a lot of people think, and I could be wrong, but I think there's a significant percentage of people who think, oh, well, you just were born with a good voice. You can do voice work, right? And it's no. There's, and I'm just guessing here, 90% of it is acting, 10% of it is the voice, or something like that.
Like I said, you should be a casting director. Absolutely. That's the question we always get is, what should I do if I want to be a voice actor? And always the first answer is take an acting class or and improv class.
Yeah.
Although generally you're not going to be improving once you get a gig.
But it's good to be able to think on your feet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because you got to make that whatever your cool voice is, you got to get that cool voice past the microphone. It's got to go through all those chords and out into people's auditory canals. You know, that character's got to live, not just sound a particular way.
Right. Yeah. It has to like reach into them and touch their hearts. Yeah. And that's what creates a character that is memorable. I mean, I'm trying to imagine somebody like the Vault Tech agent, right, coming to the door with a different voice and that would change, even just looking at the same face. That just breaks my brain to imagine even any of these other voice actors at this event that I've gotten a chance to, you know, if Mark Meir was the Vault Tech agent, it would be a very different experience because he would portray that character very differently, even under the same direction with the same face, all of that.
Yeah.
So to divorce a character from the actor and the performance, not just the sound of the voice, but the performance is what I think is the thing that, like you said, it kind of reaches up into us. And it's the thing that we remember.
It's very funny you said, because I just flashed on me doing, instead of good morning, Vault Tech calling. No, I'm not trying to sell you anything. Doing it, good morning, Vault Tech calling. You know,
good morning, Captain Shepard calling.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
It makes no sense. And to that point, what cracked me up about Ben 10, jumping back to Ben 10, every time we changed producers and directors and the different incarnations, I had to re-audition for my character.
Oh, wow.
I had to re-audition for Grandpa Max.
Which is funny because you would assume that people who are fans of the series wouldn't want that character to change.
Well, one excuse they gave was that because the second Ben was now 15 years old instead of 10 years old. And
So 5 whole years went by.
well, they said, well, you know what? Maybe Grandpa Max doesn't have as much power. Maybe he's a little raspier.
Right, maybe he's a little older.
Yeah. They said, well, no, we did that. I said, well, maybe if there's a little more gravel. Ben, what do you
He's been smoking a lot in the last 5 years.
Exactly. So we did it 2 or 3 different ways. And finally, they came to their senses and said, well, you know, it's only 5 years. And a male, an adult, their voice doesn't change that much in 5 years.
Yeah, a little kid, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a grown man, not so much.
They changed, Tara to Yuri. So that I got, but it's like, but they finally said, oh, yeah, never mind.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So we only have so much time. I've got other interviews to get to, and I don't want to keep you too long because I know you're busy with other stuff as well. When it comes to Fallout, there are other games. The official word has gone out, or at least got leaked somewhere, that like the next Fallout game has been greenlit. Like they're in production, or they will be in production. Elder Scrolls 6 is in production, has been for a little while now. That's coming out soon. I know you can't give away any secrets of these things, but from your perspective, if there was a character in either of those series, a type of character that you would love to play that you haven't had the opportunity to play. So for example, in Elder Scrolls, there's all the different races and they all sound a little bit different. Or in Fallout, you have ghouls and you have humans. And with the Vault-Tec Rec, you got to be a human and a ghoul.
Yeah.
Or robots, those kinds of things. Is there a role in either of those that you would jump on and be like, oh, I'd really love to try that?
Wow. I want to give a legit answer instead of a joke. I would like just with a character that's got some depth to him and some humor. I want to have some humor, which is fun when you're talking about Fallout. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
let's have some fun with this stuff. But none in particular. Now, the ghoul takes a little bit more out of your voice.
Yeah, it's gruff, yeah.
Yeah, I did it for a while during the panel. It's like, yeah, you start to feel it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boy, I don't know.
It's just somebody with some depth,
Someone with some depth.
And a sense of humor.
And a sense of
Or humor situations,
there
maybe.
you go, humor situation. Like I said in the panel, a character that, and a piece that changes the world for the good, that makes what we're living in not just palatable, but enjoyable and joyful, and also makes me incredibly rich.
Yes, right. Yeah, I agree. It feels good to make the world better. It also makes living in that world a lot easier if you have more money. Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Is there anything you would like to leave with everyone else, or ways that they can follow your work, or anything that you would like to promote while you're here?
Well, if you're in Los Angeles, you can come see the play that I'm working on called Heisenberg. It's a great play. The woman that I'm working with, it's a play about a woman in her early 40s who meets a man my age, and you try and figure out where they end up. And Heisenberg is based on actually a principle, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, physics.
Where you just don't know. The harder you look at something, the less you know how fast it's going and where it's going to end up.
Right. Yeah. If you can pinpoint the location, you then you lose the direction, or if you can pinpoint the direction, you lose the location. Like there's the nature of quantum particles and all that.
Yeah, it's a great piece. Plus, I'm doing some more Metal Gear stuff, and I'm on Twitter. I know I'm not. I am now on Instagram, just my name, and Facebook.
All right.
The two, and my page is paul-iding.com.
Got it. Well, thank you so much, Paul. This has been a pleasure.
Pleasure, man. Really, great questions. It's been fun.
Awesome. Well, I'll let you get back to it and enjoy the rest of the convention.
Thanks.
All right, so now I'm in a little dressing room. Peter Jessup and I have hidden away in a corner in order to get this interview because we're running out of spaces that don't have lots of sound in the background. You might recognize Peter from both Fallout and from Elder Scrolls as, thank you, as the Paladin Dance, fan favorite character, and also as Miraak, who's very formidable, interesting character in Fallout. In Elder Scrolls and Skyrim. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with me.
Glad to be here.
So this is fun because I've gotten the opportunity to talk to a number of different voice actors, and I love getting your perspective on playing these characters because other than the animators and the people who are actually designing the physical, the characters themselves and writing the lines, of course, but like the characters and the performance of the characters, I believe are some of the things that really hit people where it counts. And for characters like Paladin Dance, he has a very interesting and unique story. There's people in the Fallout community who'll say, well, he's a synth, so he's not really a person. But then there's a whole other contingent of people who are like, oh my God, I love him. He's the best guy. And he just trying to do the right thing. All of that. What is it like when you get a character as intricate as somebody like Dance and performing and portraying him?
Well, it started out, they don't tell you what you're working on when you book the job. So I didn't know, that it was a Fallout game while we were recording it until I got into the booth. Mm-hmm. And like the very second line I had the term ferals in it. And I was like, wait a minute, is this Fallout? And they're like, you know Fallout? So, but the early sessions with Paladin Dance, I just assumed I was the Brotherhood of Steel companion character.
Just like all the players did
right
before they got far enough in the storyline to realize that was a little bit more to it than that.
And it wasn't until, we'd done probably 5 or 6 sessions at that point. We got to the parts where we find out that he's a synth. And you can develop a close relationship with Dance prior to that revelation coming out. So we'd done all of the affinity dialogue. We'd done all of the romantic dialogue.
Right, yeah.
So, when you first meet Dance, he's kind of a dick.
Right, yes. In the police station, and he's go do this job, make sure you do it right, all that stuff, yeah.
I need somebody who can obey my orders without question and all that kind of crap. And then as he warms up to you, you realize, okay, maybe he's just a by the book kind of guy, which is still okay. And then once you get to know each other and you get to the affinity work and you become friends and or, you fall in love or whatever, I liked that character arc. And then they threw this curveball in of him being a synth.
More character arc.
And I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. Yeah, because there's so many, my whole life is a lie.
Yeah.
What actually am I? Am I a person? I've been told my whole life that I know of that synths are not people.
Right.
And then to find out that I am one and I think I'm a person.
Yeah. Bringing this up now, it feels like there are a lot of corollaries between somebody like Dance realizing, oh, I'm a synth and I didn't even realize it, which is one of the big things that happens in Fallout 4 all the time with people who are diagnosed with something they didn't realize they had, whether it is some sort of neurodivergent thing like, hey, you didn't know it, but you've been autistic all these years, or, ADHD or other kinds of things. And I think I'm neurodivergent. In fact, I think most of the people at conferences like this are probably neurodivergent in some way. Do you feel like that's kind of an analogy? Because a lot of times in games and literature and fantasy and those kinds of things, I mean, X-Men is the classic example of, these are mutants, but that is really about racism because it's the 1960s, 1970s, right? Did you pull from a place internally?
Absolutely. No, absolutely I did. And the really interesting options that you get with Dance at that point, he's like, you got to kill me. I'm an abomination. I should not exist.
Right, because he's been programmed to believe that his whole life.
That's his worldview. That's the stand that the Brotherhood of Steel takes, and he's a loyal soldier, and that's like, you've got to do it. And you have to convince him.
Yeah. Yeah.
To stay alive.
Yeah, it can go very dark places.
And it does. It goes to very dark places. And then even worse, you got to jack your charisma way up so that you can convince Maxon
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
to let him go.
Right.
Because Maxon shows up and he's like, nope, not going to happen. We're going to kill this guy.
Right.
And Derek Phillips, who is a great dude. He really is. He's a good guy. He's a friend of mine. He does such a great asshole.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, there are certain people who I interviewed Mark Meir a little bit ago, and I had an opportunity to interview him a few years ago for the Mass Effect Lorecast. And I still, to this day, have a very hard time playing a male shepherd as Renegade, because the way he plays that character he's such a jerk.
Yeah.
And he does it so well that I have a hard time doing it. So I feel like this is kind of similar to that.
No, that exactly. Yeah, so that's my take on that whole character arc. Yeah.
Yeah, so a very different kind of character would be Miraak from Elder Scrolls, because you go from being a synth Brotherhood person who didn't know it and all of that, and a potential love interest and all of that, to being what is the primary villain for a major DLC expansion, and somebody who one of the things that my co-host and I for the Elder Scrolls Lorecast talk about all the time is how Miraak is such a jerk because he will steal the souls. Yeah. You kill a dragon, he'll just swoop in and be like, nope, they're mine now.
Yeah.
That's got to be a completely different experience playing a villain type character like that as opposed to a tough but lovable character.
I've done both. I've been very lucky that I've had a chance to be. I've done some really cool villains. And I've gotten to be some really great heroes, and that's the joy of being a voice actor, is that you're not typecast usually into. Although we talked about that at the panel today.
Yeah. I just talked to Paula a little bit about it too, and how that does happen.
You know, I got typecast as artificial intelligence that's trying to find its humanity.
It's a very specific
thing.
Battlestar. I mean, what else does that? Battlestar Galactica. Yeah.
But the Vision.
Okay, yes.
I was the Vision.
Okay,
in the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Yeah. Same sort of thing.
Right.
You know, I'm a synthezoid. I'm trying to figure out. Miraak was fun because the casting call was so generic. We want a non-specific Nordic accent.
Right. It just needs to be some sort of general Northern European thing.
Well, just some sort of Scandinavian
yeah,
kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. So I went in and did a kind of a Norwegian thing. It was not that involved.
Huh.
Surprisingly, given that how present Miraak is throughout the whole Dragonborn section of the game, really.
Yeah.
You don't really talk to him much.
Right. I feel like he has these moments of like a monologue.
Yeah.
And then every so often he'll pop up and say a thing, and then he disappears.
And that's kind of it. And I will say this, when I did get the DLC and I played it, I hated Miraak. And that final Dragonback battle was just such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So I honestly, I don't really explore that line of when I play
Elder Scrolls, Skyrim.
Yeah, Skyrim.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it was fun because you get to be a little over the top. Mm-hmm. You're thousands of years old.
Yeah.
You've been brought back from the dead, all of this great sort of backstory stuff. So yeah, Miraak was fun to do.
Yeah. So I know some actors really do enjoy when they get to play a villain character, because there are things you can do as a villain character that are a little over the top. They're a little bit more expressive or sinister or whatever that you would never do as a hero character. Do you find that you prefer one over the other, or that experience is distinctly different?
No, they're just it's part of the variety of what you get to do as an actor. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the fun thing. Again, another artificial intelligence when Sovereign in Mass Effect.
That's right. Yeah. Sovereign.
Great villain.
Yeah.
Best monologue that's, I think, ever been written for a video game is that whole monologue. You know, you exist because we allow it.
Right. Yeah, there's some
because we demand it.
Yeah, there's some intense stuff that goes on with it.
Dark, very cold. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And so that's, that was fun. I got to play Steppenwolf in Justice League Action, but I also played Superman in JLA Adventures.
Right. Oh, that's fun.
It's
a little bit of both.
You get to do both, and that's been fun.
That's great. That's great. Is there any other roles that really stick out to you that are some of your favorites?
Honestly, Paladin Dance was so well written. When people ask him, well, what were some of the favorite roles you played? He really is one of my favorites because it's such a deep game. You really got a chance to explore the character.
Yeah.
And that was great. There was a whole section of the game that we recorded that ended up not getting used.
Yeah.
And I know people have talked about this. I've talked about this before, where you as the player character can take over the Brotherhood of Steel with Dance as your companion still.
Yeah.
And I think the folks at Bethesda were like, yeah, that would never fly. The Brotherhood would not.
They wouldn't turn that much.
Like, oh, well, that one synth is good. No. So they scrapped that whole thing, but
yeah, I can see the community having been a little bit upset about that. And they're like, wait a minute, how is that possible? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I know we've got a limited time. It's kind of the end of the day, and I'm sure they're going to kick us out at some point. But last question.
Yes.
In a future, and you don't need to reveal anything if you're involved with something you can't talk about, but in a future Fallout or Elder Scrolls project, is there a character type or character of that you would like to be able to do? With Elder Scrolls, you have all the different races, and so you have funny different accents for each of them. In Fallout, you've got ghouls and robots and humans and all sorts of fun stuff. Is there anything that you'd be like, oh, it'd be really cool to be this?
Honestly, I just enjoy playing in the sandbox with these guys. Bethesda's been great. I've done a bunch of stuff in 76. In some of the DLC and that kind of stuff that they put in. And it's, I love the worlds that they build. I love the design of those worlds. Excuse me, the Elder Scrolls stuff has sort of progressed from iteration to iteration. And, so Skyrim's got a very sort of Nordic feel, and Oblivion had a very sort of medieval feel, and, going back. The Fallouts have been consistently cool.
Yeah, different kinds of wastelands, but still very much wastelands.
Still very much the same design. Okay, so New Vegas introduced Sunset Sarsaparilla.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Nuka-Cola needed some competition.
You could still have a Nuka-Cola.
Right.
It was still there.
Yeah.
And then, Nuka World introducing all the weird
Bottle and Cappy and all that.
Yeah. Well, Bottle and Cappy, and then all of the different flavors and all the different, kinds of things you can get. So, that was fun. And Jan Johns, who is Scribe Halen, one of my buddies at Cambridge with Paladin Dance, is also the Nuka-Cola superfan.
Yeah. Okay.
She does the voice for, I can't think of her name now, but.
Yeah. God, I'm so bad at names. But the superfan from Nuka-Cola expansion.
Fallout 3.
Right. Yes.
And then they bring her back in.
Right.
As she's got.
Oh, that's right.
In Massachusetts, of all places.
Right. Yeah. There's a few characters that make that jump.
So, Paladin Dance was supposedly raised in the Capital Wasteland. At least he thought he was.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. It's been very nice getting to meet you and talk to you about this. Are there things that are going on, ways people can kind of plug into what you're doing, or things that you want to throw out there?
Say, but they have NDAs.
They all NDAs. Are you on social media? Are there ways people can follow your work?
At Dad Jessup on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Pleasure.
Hey, so Scotty K Fitness is here with me, and we are at GCX 2025.
Yes.
And you've got this awesome booth set up over there. For people who don't know, you stream Fallout. You stream. I'm sure you stream more than just Fallout on occasion.
So I'm a mostly Fallout creator. It's nice to be here. GCX has been more than accommodating. I stream variety as well, kind of whatever the community wants me to stream. I stream a lot of my workouts.
Yeah.
Which is fun because I get to educate and motivate at the same time, and then I get to play video games, which is super fun.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than getting like a really good chest pump and then playing Fallout.
Sure.
But no,
Well, survival in the wasteland, probably.
Yes.
I mean, you don't want to be in bad shape
exactly.
when you're out in the wasteland and, a feral ghoul comes running at you.
Yeah. Speaking of the booth, man, so a couple of weeks ago, I think it was maybe a week and a half ago, Ken from Fallout for Hope, great guy, reached out and said, hey, there's a booth that just opened up. Do you want it? And I was like, what in the world am I going to put in a booth?
Yeah.
Sure. And so it turned out fairly well. Again, movie magic. I don't think I could have planned it, but all of the backdrops and set design we had for the bunker stream that we did, we ended up just bringing out here and getting it shipped out. So it worked out really well.
Nice. Well, this is pretty amazing. There's, for anybody who hasn't been here, which is most of my audience who's currently listening, you're right across from the Fallout experience.
Right.
And there are all sorts of like replica weapons and items and everything from like a power armor suit to, I don't know.
There's so many weapons. They have like 2 operational terminals. They have a Mr. Handy. They have so many cool set designs and props there where you can take photos with, and amazing lighting and NCR Rangers and a Gatling gun made out of laser rifles.
Yeah.
And that's operational even.
Yeah.
But no, it's incredible to be across from them. They're such a really welcoming community as well. I showed up with a couple of boxes of things and a dream in my heart, and they were very helpful. There's a gentleman that's running around attached to them as well that has just this cart full of things to help people build their setups and stuff. And so he's been instrumental as well. It's been really cool.
That's awesome. So let's talk Fallout. You're a gamer.
It's my game.
You love playing Fallout. Yeah. What is your go-to for current streams? Are you a 76 guy? Do you like to go back to some of the older titles?
Yeah. So I started on Fallout 4. Now, Fallout 4, I found when I was obese and I was depressed and in this horrible relationship, and I just wanted to escape the world.
Yeah.
And you can fall into the universe of Fallout really, really easily. And so I did that, and I found myself, or little bits and pieces of myself in the Fallout world, right? In the wasteland. And I realized, you can level up, you can become stronger, you can become better at endurance, you can become smarter, and your luck can change, and all these amazing things. And it gave me a different outlook on life. It saved me. And so Fallout 4 is kind of my comfort game. It's our go-to, but we make it fun. We play a lot of mods to make things either more interesting and more difficult. The Frost mod, for any of the listeners here today, if you guys want to try the hardest mod you'll ever try on Fallout 4, the Frost mod is like punching yourself in the chest repeatedly for hours. It's horrible.
I recognize the name. I don't remember all the details.
The premise of the Frost mod is that the storyline is out of the window. It is purely survival. And with all your survival mode quirks where you can only save if you sleep, you have to manage food and water and all these other things, but the additional difficulty comes from the storyline being gone, and your character does not start out in a vault. He wasn't asleep for 200 years.
Yeah.
The air is immediately irradiated. You have to find a gas mask and weaponry. Everything wants to kill you. I got one-shotted by a rad roach.
Holy crap.
Oh, it's insane. Everything is deadly. You can't go to Diamond City. It's full of rangers, and it's very militant. So it's very hard to level up. It's very hard to find medicine. It's very hard to find weapons. And it's just survival on crack. It's so hard, but it's so much
nightmare
fun.
mode.
It is nightmare mode. Yeah, 100%. And the heavy, dense fog as well. And the rad storms are very bad. I'm talking 50 plus rads a second. And so if you cannot find a gas mask quickly, you're ruined.
Yeah.
You're ruined. So, and we played permadeath mode on my,
yes.
on my stream. So it was a lot of fun, but, we do that, and we do like, modern weapon mods and things like that. So it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I enjoy modding. I enjoy playing all the different Bethesda games. I went through a little phase a few months ago where I was modding the heck out of Skyrim again.
Sure.
Because everybody just keeps on making even cooler mods that come out.
Yeah.
And I always jump back to Fallout 4 and then mod that some and then play it a little bit. And sometimes I stream these things and sometimes I don't because it's more of like a, I do the podcasts and things for a living. And so it's like, hey, I'm going to just mess around with this tonight because it's just what I want to do. And to be able to take that and make it into an engaging community experience regularly. I think what a lot of people who come to streamers don't understand is the amount of work it takes behind the scenes, the amount of like streaming is fun. It's a lot better than a lot of jobs I've ever had, that kind of thing. But there's the behind the scenes part. There's the getting the mods to work together. There's the figuring out how, is this something my audience is even going to enjoy?
Right.
It's all of that.
You take a lot of time and effort into things that very rarely pan out. But it is exhausting, because I'm a 30-year-old fitness influencer, which is weird, and I have amazing sponsorships and amazing partnerships with companies and other creators. And you get a chance to stream with amazing people like Batty Streams or One Peg or Professor Broman. And these guys are a part of GCX. And some of them are even a part of Fallout for Hope specifically. And getting to stream with these guys is a dream come true, but is your community going to be engaged? Right. Yeah. And it can be exhausting, like I said, but how blessed are you to be tired in a pursuit of your own choosing? Some people are tired on accident. They're being forced into labor that they have to be a part of to pay their bills. And we are blessed to have a community, and not just a community, but an audience and profitability from that. My bills are paid. Which is why we do so much for charity, which is why I was so happy to be a part of GCX, which happened on accident, mind you. A lot of people know this. I was going to be here in Orlando anyway for my daughter's birthday. She wanted to go to Epic Universal. And so I was talking to my computer sponsor, Power GPU, shout out those guys, Jesse Martinez. And I was like, yeah, here's all my travel coming up. He's like, are you going to GCX? And I was like, what the hell is GCX? He's like, oh, dude, why don't you talk to Batty or Broman because they're a part of it. So I called these guys, they're my friends, and they were like, oh, I don't know why we didn't invite you.
Right. We've just been busy with stuff. Yeah. We didn't even occur to us.
So they were like, yeah, you can come out. We'll get you out here. And then they were like, hey, would you mind streaming for a couple of hours just for the GCX marathon? I was like, absolutely. I would love that. And so it's supposed to be 4 hours in my garage. And then I took an Adderall and had an idea. And then we ended up in a bunker in Arkansas, 60 feet underground for 48 hours. It was 4 days total, 1 day setup, 48 hours streaming, 1 day teardown.
Wow.
And that was incredible, man. And you get those kinds of experiences when you say yes to things,
Yeah.
And that right there is kind of social media and streaming and community around that in a nutshell, because if you believe in a cause and you truly have passion for it and people can see that, they will rally around it. And I can't think of a better cause to run into a bunker and lock myself inside for 48 hours.
Yeah. Helping children.
Yeah. Helping children and people in need overall,
Sure.
So it was an incredible experience. I'm very blessed to be here.
So one of the things that I've been doing my show for 6.5 years now. And as far as I can tell by searching things, you can't see numbers. You can see numbers for streamers. Sure. You can see numbers for YouTube videos, but for audio platforms, you can't see numbers.
Yeah.
Right. But my show does show up at the top.
Okay.
As far as I know, we're the biggest audio focused Fallout podcast, Elder Scrolls podcast, both lorecasts. So we talk a lot about the lore of the world and all of those things. And both of those series are extremely tragic and dangerous worlds to live in.
Yes.
And yet there's this ironic thing that happens where, like your story, they become some sort of reason to live. Yeah. Even though in universe, they would most likely all of us would be dead.
They say that true strength comes from being broken.
Yeah.
And survivability.
Learning to pick yourself back up.
Exactly. Right. Surviving and survivability comes from the need to survive.
Right.
And so I think that's where it comes from for me, is being in a dark place and then finding myself canonically and lore wise in that same position where you feel powerless.
Yeah.
You feel confused, disoriented in a place where you don't kind of feel like you belong. You have to find your way.
Right.
And how do you know you're going the right way in a video game? you keep running into bad guys, right?
Right.
And things keep getting harder.
If it's too easy, then you're heading the wrong direction.
Exactly. And that's how you can treat life as well. If things are scaring you, if things are difficult, or you're worried about something, you're doing the right thing. You know, you're challenging yourself, you're growing not only yourself, but the people around you.
Right.
And so that's something that we focus on a lot as well. It's incredible. Speaking of the duality of these things, I learned something while I was in the Titan Ranch for the missile silo for the bunker. They have this Air Force patch down there next to the door, and the lore here is incredible. So these missile silos would be manned for 24 hours, and they're Air Force, airmen, military personnel for 24 hours at a time. You go down there and you're with your friends. There's no way you're going to be in a dress uniform or Class Bs the whole time and like boots tucked in. Mm-hmm. So they look at each other like, hey, I'm cool with you. You're cool with me. Let's get into our pajamas.
Right.
Right. And so somebody has,
so it becomes a big pajama party with a bunch of military guys.
It does.
Yeah.
And somebody's wearing bunny slippers, right?
Right.
But you might get that call to turn that key and drop that nuke.
Yeah.
And you in tens or hundreds of millions of lives. And so their patch, it says around the edge and a little artwork on the inside says "Death wears bunny slippers."
Yeah.
And if that's not Fallout in a
that's
nutshell,
so Fallout, yeah,
right?
So serious and yet so silly,
so silly at the same time. And that's the thing is that's something that I keep running into, and that's how I know I'm on the right track.
Yeah,
because I keep running into that stuff.
Yeah. So to continue on that idea, this idea of Fallout being a thing that has brought people out of dark places, has found community and friendship, and in general is a very positive thing.
Yes.
And it's something that everyone was surprised about when Fallout 76 launched, and the community that stuck with it is super nice. Even to this day, people are like, hey, I tried it out for the first time, and this level 3,000 dude in power armor came and gave me a bunch of stuff, and they were so nice to me. That is something that I've noticed, and going back to the story about having done this for 3.5 years, is consistent.
Yeah.
There's something that's consistent about people who are fans of this universe, and yet there's a positivity to it, even though the Wasteland is a dark and terrifying place.
Well, I think what it is, and because the Call of Duty community is incredibly toxic, right?
Sure.
Because it's competitive.
It's competitive. It's everyone out for their own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Fallout, survivability is not competitive by nature, because we are a species of community, right?
Yeah.
We're herd-like creatures and animals. So it's all about building that community. And so like, hey, I want you to survive. So I want you to have these things that are going to help you.
Yeah.
And I experienced the same thing when I started 76. I'm not a big 76 guy. Funny enough, I hopped into a 76 stream with Fallout for Hope recently, and I was on my way home from Dallas. I was doing content for my protein launch, which was super, super fun. But on my way home, I was supposed to be on stream with these guys in time to like do a race and do like a fist fight in your underwear. I had to build a character a specific way.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, I'm rushing home, and we stopped at a gas station, me and my army buddy, who's my videographer, Josh, and we pulled into this gas station. He went over to McDonald's. I got a couple of snacks in there. And I go to check out, and there's this man laying on the ground next to the cash register. And the ladies that are supposed to be checking everybody out are trying to tend to this guy. Well, I'm a registered EMT. Used to be a fireman.
Yeah.
And a police officer. So I'm like, hey, let me help out. And I have somebody go get Josh, my videographer. He gets my med bag out of the car, because I always have like 5 medical kits with me in my vehicle. And this guy's resting heart rate was like 128. His blood pressure was 190 over 160. And then he died.
Wow.
He had a heart attack.
Wow.
And so we got him back. And by the time he left, he was in a little better shape, because I have an oxygen tank and nitro and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So we got him back. And then I finally get to my house and start loading up everything, and I'm so late. I missed the race. I missed half the fights, and I didn't have time to like build a character that would fit.
Oh, no.
Like that knew how to like.
Sorry, guys. I was busy saving lives.
It was so funny because I go in there and I got to fight Wreck-It Renee, and she's a sweetheart. I love her to death, but she was like a level 2,000 and some change or whatever. I'm a level 23, 28, and I go in there. She let me win 1 round. Thank God. She's so sweet. And I'm trying to learn how to fist fight in 76, and it was just so bad. But it was so much fun too, because again, in that moment, the community still came together, right?
Yeah.
It was so much fun. Yeah.
No, it is pretty amazing what the community does and coming together and the positivity. And I don't know. It is I'm thankful to be part of all of this too.
Yeah.
And Ken, I've known for years, and putting stuff together, and just it is very, very cool. So
Ken and I are very similar in the way that we'll have ideas and we won't tell each other what those ideas are, and then we'll just find out about it later. And they've never conflicted, which is very, very beneficial. But so you've been doing audio content and podcasting for how long?
The Fallout Lorecast launched the January of 2019.
So if I can turn the table here.
Sure.
What was your catalyst? Because in my experience, starting a podcast, it either comes with an exuberant amount of confidence, right? Or incredible conviction.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they rarely go hand in hand.
Right.
So I have a conviction to make my own podcast. I don't have the confidence to. I've always told my followers, if I started a podcast by myself, I would call it Just Another White Guy with a Podcast, because the world's got enough of it.
Right. Yeah, my joke. So I run the Robots Radio Podcast Network also.
Okay.
And there are people who sign up to be part of the network, and oftentimes they don't have any experience doing podcasting. Maybe they've dabbled in streaming or videos or something. But one of the things that I advise all of them on is, hey, when you start your podcast, when you start your first episode, think about the way you frame it, explain to the audience, just like in a good YouTube video, hey, this is what the topic is today, whatever, because nobody needs 4 white guys sitting around the table talking about what they ate for breakfast for 15 minutes before the content starts.
Exactly.
Because there's already plenty of shows exactly like that. So, yeah. So, and I honestly, I don't know. I think everybody kind of has to find their creative outlet and the thing that makes sense for who they are. But I think a lot of times audiences define that for us.
Yes.
And so my journey was dabbling in all sorts of things throughout the years. Back in 2013, I was Twitch streaming back before it was easy to even make money because people had to send you PayPal money, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And I was building up a stream and got into 50 consecutive viewers, which was pretty big back in 2013. And then lost my job, had to go. And I was like, okay, I can't devote all this time because I was streaming in the evenings after work and all of that. So that didn't really work out. Dabbled in some YouTube content, and I'm sure my listeners have heard this story before, but ended up getting a career in marketing.
Okay.
And worked my way up from the bottom because I had a non-compete with the other company, which meant I couldn't work in the entire state. So started back at square one, worked for marketing in startup companies, learned a ton about that stuff. And then once that stuff clicked, I was able to apply that to my newest endeavor at the time, which was the Fallout Lorecast. And just understanding, okay, and when you say marketing, most people think advertising. That's just an element.
It's a small element.
It's a small element. When you're thinking about starting a stream or starting a podcast, you need to identify who is your target audience? Is there demand for the thing that you want to make? In fact, it's probably better to do the opposite and go, what is there demand for that doesn't exist? Or what is out there, but I could do better?
Yeah, what are you good at?
What am I good at?
What are you passionate about? What are you knowledgeable for? Because I tell a lot of people, I get people that ask me like, hey, how do I start making content? Because on TikTok is my main platform. We just hit 4 million followers. On Instagram, we're at 1.5 million. And people are like, and that happened in a year, mind you.
Yeah.
I was at 750 followers and I made $1 million in 38 days. So I was on my heels. I was a fireman. I was a failing paramedic student. Not the brightest crown in the box, but I caught lightning in a bottle. And I ran with it. I said, yes. That's my biggest thing is you have to say yes. There's I was always going to kick myself if I didn't take the opportunity.
Right.
And I upset a lot of people by leaving my job. It was a highly coveted position that I didn't deserve in the first place. And I left my job and I started doing this and I treat it like it's my full-time job because it's my passion.
And you have to. Like when I was doing, when I started the Fallout Lorecast, I was recording in the evenings and weekends outside of my regular work, family, kids, all of that stuff. And it was one of those things that I was like, okay, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to make sure I get an episode out every week. I'm going to do the research. I'm going to play the games. I'm going to do what I need to do in order to make it work. And then it started taking off. And then I added another show and then I added another show. And
a lot of the mistakes I see from people who start either podcasting or they make their content creation, whatever that may look like, is the same mistake that I made in the beginning. Because I used to make content before I became the kind of man that I am now, but it was always like the really cringy stuff. I don't know if I can curse on your podcast. The really cringy stuff where it's like the low light flexing videos where like, look how tough I am. Like I'm fighting my demons in the dark. Nobody cares. It's just a Batman-esque videos.
Right.
But
and you're one of thousands of people who probably do the same thing.
Exactly. And that's the thing is I was doing it for me because I wanted to be accepted and liked and people to revere like my muscles or whatever. The ego was in the front of everything.
Yeah.
And I learned to let go of that and started making content with the vein of what am I providing to a community?
Right.
What am I giving?
Right.
What am I knowledgeable enough to give?
Right.
And so that became the mental health aspect. It became nutrition. It became physical fitness and mental fortitude. And that right there skyrocketed not only the content, but the community.
Because there was a demand for it. Because you're thinking about others before yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
And there's something I will give to the fire department for what they taught me. It's called the I am third rule, right? The first on your priority list are the people who called on you, the people who need you, the people who need help.
Yeah.
The second are the man and women to your left and right. And you are third. If there's anything left in the tank, you can save yourself.
People in need, your team, and then yourself.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And so that's how I've been trying to push myself forward every day is I am third. Yeah.
That's great. That's a great attitude. And I think that will lend to survivability in the wasteland. This is, I need to wrap up soon because I've got another interview scheduled. But this is one of those things that fight with the community wouldn't be the right way to say it. And one of the things I disagree with the greater community out there, not the people who tend to listen to my content, but the people who post negative comments on your videos and those kinds of things. For example, I did an episode recently about how House from New Vegas is in fact a villain. And I went through, this is traditionally in literature, in history, how we define villains.
Yep.
These are his qualities that match that. So therefore, even if he has good qualities, he's still a villain.
Right.
By definition. And I went through this explanation and of course created a video out of that episode, which is what I do with some of my episodes. And of course the trolls come out and they start commenting. But the majority of the sentiment against that was either, well, you got the lore wrong or some sort of, they're picking something.
Yeah.
Or more likely, this idea that, well, it's the wasteland, so morals go out the window. Because it's all everyone for themselves. And you and I don't believe that.
No.
If you're going to survive in the wasteland, it's not going to be because you're looking out for yourself, and it's not going to be because you're just going to hook up with whoever's the most powerful leader who's available.
Yeah.
It's going to be because you build a community who cares about each other, who goes out of their way in order to make sure that the group survives, which is actually more in line with history and the way that human beings throughout our entire existence have survived.
Yeah.
Because at any point, if you decide to go it alone in even a terrible situation, you're not going to make it.
Well, what do they say? You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together.
Right. So, so totally on the same wavelength there. And awesome. It's been very nice getting to meet you officially and hearing your story and all of that. Awesome. And I'm sure I'll be around and check out your booth.
For the listeners, we just shook hands.
Yeah. We were physically doing things in real meat space rather than over the internet, which is weird.
Yeah.
For people who want to get a hold of your stuff, what's the best way to do that?
So I'm Scotty K Fitness on all platforms. I also own Faultline Project, which I run my Faultline Fitness company through and my Faultline Apparel company through. So if you guys are interested in bettering your health and wellness, mental fortitude, as well as your physical health, ScottyKFitness.com. I am working on the domain change, so if that doesn't work at some point when you're listening to this, try faultlinefitness.com as well. But I'm also starting a podcast soon, but I'm not going to steal your viewers on that.
No, that's fine. I mean, they're welcome to go check out other cool stuff. Like I'm also a fan of A Rising Tide Rises All Ships. So
that'll be called the Hard Reset Podcast. That's with Batty Streams or Kyle. And I'm super excited to start that with him. We start filming that in August.
Awesome.
So I hope to see you guys there, and thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing your amazing host.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate the interview. Thanks.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.